We started to doubt Sean McVay. We're
Right.
like, well, what he did his first, few games and years, maybe it was a little bit of the league didn't know about him. Now they found out about him, and now they can stop him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they can't. I mean, they still have a really good defense beating Seattle.
Yes, they do.
But this is a team that has been fueled the last couple games by Todd Gurley again. I think we have a graphical representation of that for our YouTube audience about Todd Gurley, and they have fed him the ball. It was his first 2 years in the league, and you see it there for the YouTube audience. 2017 through week 15 of 2018, he was getting 23 touches a game, 135 yards from scrimmage per game. Hurts his knee, comes back in the playoffs. They don't use him that much.
No.
15 touches per game all the way through week 12 of this year. 15 touches per game in that span, 64 yards. Last 2 weeks, back to 24 touches a game, more than he was getting in the beginning the last couple years, 2017, 2018. So what's going on? Is it a matter of he looks healthy and Sean McVay is like, all right, let's ride him? Or did they go, why aren't we riding him? We need to see what he has.
I think they finally hit the bright light went on to go what are we saving him for? I don't get it. I mean, what's the point? And this is going to sound insensitive to me, but he's not the same person he was in 2017 or 2018 before the injury. He's not, but he's still really good. He's just not the superstar he was before that knee injury, to where I went, ooh, that hole there, that's a 70-yard touchdown with 2017 Todd Gurley, and now it's just a 20-yard run, all right? And there's nothing wrong with that. He's still really good and effective, like I said. But also, I think the Rams realize, hey, we're paying him $14 million a year. F it. Let's run him into the ground. I mean, that's why we gave him the money.
Yeah.
What are we saving him for? To where, I don't know, we get an extra year out of his career? So I think they came to that realization. So they have definitely gotten back to that. Plus, they just had two great matchups. Now, again, Sean McVay has definitely found a groove. He's changing formations a little bit more and changing personnel sets a little bit more, which I like. That was the one thing he had to do. They were a little too complacent in what they were doing. And they went through a lull. I think he went through a lull, too. Hey, they had to play the Ravens and the Steelers. And, I mean, those defenses are real. What he got the last 2 weeks is the Seahawks, who, everybody still thinks the Seahawks are like the 2013 Seahawks. And I just got to remind everybody, the Seahawks are the 26th ranked defense in football. And I think the 49ers game, where they went on this defensive explosion in that Monday Night Football game, has kind of everybody thinking that defense is still real good. I have people, and I know Pete and I were talking about this in lunch today, where people still think they're the Seahawks, the defense. And I want to be like, no, it's not. It's the offense. It's about the offense right now. And especially, all right, so here's what I want to get to.
With the Rams offense.
Rams offense, certainly running the ball more formations like I talked about. I do think the bootleg, the play action pass game, the screens, all of that, he's doing a great job of tying that all together with the new personnel sets and the formations and all that too.
It seems like they've run the screen and all that stuff pretty much most of the season, though, right? I mean, Jared Goff's been a dump kind of dink, and they haven't really.
Lately, it's gotten back to a little bit more wide receiver screens in the Arizona game. They went to him a whole lot more. It wasn't as many in this game. This game, the bootleg, they came out with that in the run game. But the big thing was this, Ahmed, from the run game. And this could rear its head this week in the matchup they have against the Dallas Cowboys. So when I watched the film, and I watched that this morning, I came away and went, oh, this is what the Rams did to the Cowboys in the playoff game last year. And it's the same defensive scheme. And the Rams, if you remember in that playoff game last year, had 200-yard rushers. C.J. Anderson rushed for 130 yards, and I think Gurley rushed for 115. And it's because, wait for it, neither one of these defenses do enough. They don't do anything. They play 3-deep zone, or they play little man, or they play Tampa 2.
Yeah.
And when you do that against Sean McVay, and this is kind of what happened to Arizona too. Arizona was a little too predictable. You're going to get screwed. Sean's too smart. So what they really did, without me getting too technical here, is they ran at the bubble the whole game.
What's the bubble?
The bubble is the shade nose. All right, so let's stand up, and I'm going to use you again.
I get to be used again. Okay,
right?
The shade nose.
You're there. You be the nose tackle, and I'm the center.
Do I have to get in a 4-point stance?
Yeah, no, you don't have to get that. But the shade nose is this guy who's on the shoulder edge of the center, right?
I'm not standing right in front of you. I'm standing
just
to your
a little
shoulder.
to the shoulder, and now there's usually the guard who's uncovered, right? And then there's a guy outside, head up on the tackle. So they ran at this bubble. That's why we call it the bubble. The whole game. That's basically what they did. And they ran the plays they wanted to run at that bubble, and they made sure they got to run to the bubble no matter what. So, sometimes you think, well, why doesn't Seattle set it up the other way and put the 3 technique out there and put the bubble there? Well, that's great. But what Sean McVay did is he goes, well, they're going to play one of those 2 fronts. If the bubble's here, then I'll tell the tight ends to shift over here, and now we're got our strength against the bubble again, and we have numbers in the run game, and the guard's uncovered, so now he can hit you and go free up to the linebacker. And they screwed him with run game design because of their predictability. So now Seattle is forced to do some different things with their linebackers and safeties because they're worried about that. And then you know what happened? Oh, hey, you. Look, there's a bootleg. He's wide open. Oh, play action pass. He's wide open. And that's really, to me, was the theme of the game, let alone I worry about Seattle's defense. I've worried about them almost the whole year. I don't know if we've talked about them on every podcast, but I've said it on Paul a bunch of times.
They've gotten blown up in some big games.
They can't cover. They can't cover. And if they don't have Clowney at 100% and Ezekiel Anza, it's a big issue because they need their D-line to dominate and screw things up, right? My old the play up stat, right?
Yeah.
They need that to save their secondary. And here's their last problem. They don't have enough corners. I mean, they don't have enough corners. Nico Thorpe was hurt for the game. They played a game with 3 corners. And really for the most of the game, Ahmed, the Rams put out 4 wide receivers sometimes, and the Seattle Seahawks were playing 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers versus it.
Right.
I mean, you're just not going to – this is the NFL 2019. You're not going to stop Sean McVay and Jared Goff and Woods and Cooks and Cooper Kupp and Hunter Higbee with 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers versus that. That's crazy. That's insane. So you can't play them man-to-man in that set because you can't ask some linebacker to cover Robert Woods. That's not fair. So now you're playing zone. You're definitely playing zone, and you're playing Tampa 2 or 3 deep zone.
Right.
And Sean McVay is going to know that, and he's going to tear you up.
So the Seahawks sit here at 10-3.
They have flaws,
and I think that
they're in the lower class of the upper class.
So we've seen Russell Wilson. I think that's why he's in the MVP conversation, is because that defense has had some vulnerabilities, and so they've had to throw up 40 points a game.
Exactly.
For them to compete, but they've still, they're still there. 10-3, but some vulnerabilities. They had 1-5 going into the game.
Right.
You just feel like when they face a guy like Sean McVay or a team with as solid of a defense with Aaron Donald.
Right.
And
a diverse defense that changes things and does game plans specifically. That's the first thing I noticed when I turned on the Rams defense.
You're not picking,
the Rams defense versus the Seahawks offense. Like, the first thing I noticed was like, look at all these formations and different things they do on that side of the ball. They're so much different than Seattle. They give their guys a competitive schematical advantage.
So you're not picking the Seahawks to go to the Super Bowl. I'm getting that.
It would have to be the right matchups, and I think their defensive line would have to dominate a game to where I haven't seen them consistently do that yet. So I can't say that. No, like when I look at, the NFC, again, I think they're a pain in the ass, but do I think they're in the class of San Francisco or New Orleans? No, I do not. I think they're in the next group down there. I really do.
I'm sensing that you're gonna predict them to get an early upset.
Well, like if they had
because if they play the Rams, if they get in, I don't know if they will.
If they have to play, if they had to go to Dallas,
Minnesota,
they could lose to Dallas. They could beat the Packers because of this. They could beat the Packers because they might be able to bludgeon that shitty-ass Packers run defense to where they can control the clock, keep Rodgers off the field. The Packers don't have the receivers to necessarily expose the Seattle secondary. So to me, it's those type of matchups that have to happen. But no, I do not think they're in the class. I would be shocked, even with Seattle at home in Week 17, if the 49ers lost to Seattle up there. I really would be. And I know they already beat them, but I don't know if the way they beat them is truly realistic going forward.
Right. And we cannot stop talking about the Rams. You've mentioned them already a little bit, but every time we discuss the Rams, we have to have a debate on Jared Goff, and we have to just go into whether he's good or not.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because I still feel like he's one of the most interesting players in the league because he has thrown up those 500-yard games.
Sure.
But those are games where I was looking at some of the numbers here. So what they do with him, and Sean McVay certainly Goff benefits from having him. Goff has the most yards off play action than any quarterback in the league.
Right.
So they definitely keep defenses on their toes.
No doubt.
With the coaching.
The play action and boots are huge.
You know who's second, by the way, in that? Second most yards from the play action?
Is it Jimmy Garoppolo?
It is Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. Okay, yeah. I would have been up there. I would have gotten exactly right. No doubt.
In yards after the catch
yeah.
for the Rams, there's no other team. Actually, there's no other quarterback that has more yards after the catch yards than Jared Goff.
Okay, so are you going to give Jared the credit there, or are you going to give the receivers the credit?
Exactly. But
then you also talked about last week against Arizona, nobody threw it shorter the whole week in the NFL than Jared Goff did in that game. So again, we're not going to give Jared Goff the credit. Jared Goff is good. Like I've always said, he's good.
But is he all that they need him to be?
You're right. No. I mean, no. Is there all he needs to be? Yes. Yeah. You're right for the most part. There's just going to be those handful of times every year we're going to go.
Super Bowl, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. There's going to be 3 or 4 games every year we're going to go, can he carry them through this moment? And that's been very 50-50 at this point of his career, less than 50-50, really. So, again, I like Jared Goff. I know people don't think I like Jared Goff. I do. But just when people try to tell me, because the Rams went to the Super Bowl, Jared Goff's one of the 5 best quarterbacks, I go, no, that's a dumb narrative. I'm sorry. And that's where I find it my job to fight dumb narratives that are out there. That's what I try to do.
In his defense about the yards after the catch thing, the Chiefs have more. They're the only team with more than the Rams, so that's an Andy Reid. You want that. That's what you want.
I could see. Listen, I hear you.
Saints are third.
Okay.
With Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and the 49ers are fourth with Jimmy
there you
G
go.
and Kyle. So it's funny. It's like all the really well-coached offenses are near the top of that list, and so that shouldn't necessarily be an indictment on Jared Goff just because he's got a pretty good coach with a good system around him.
I agreed, and I think like the context of that is again, I think Jared Goff, Breeze, they throw a lot of short passes, and that's how the game's designed. Garoppolo throws a little bit of both. He throws it aggressively down the field, throws short passes too. I think probably where his stat gets skewed is Shanahan's amazing in the screen game. Yeah. So there they get that. And then the other thing is to throw Mahomes in there. Listen, Mahomes is a different animal. Mahomes gets the benefit of that. Yes, they're pretty good at screens, but because everybody's 95 yards downfield because they're scared of him throwing a 95-yard bomb over their head. Yeah. So now the guy that runs the shallow cross after 3 guys are running bombs, he's wide open and gets to run after the catch.
The ability to throw deep
so
is what
opens it up through his talent. His talent has opened that up, not the system and the coach is the difference there.
That's a good distinction.
Okay, thank you. Did you like that explanation?
I did like that one. That makes a lot of sense. All right, anything more on that one?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Rams D played really well. Russell Wilson did not play his best game. That's all I wanted to say. Russell Wilson missed a few throws, and also when you get back into plays and things like that, hey, when you're down, 14-3 and you're driving and you go for a 4th and 2 and your receiver drops the ball, and then on the next series you have a 3rd and 7 and the tight end drops the ball, and then the team goes down and scores again, you're in deep shit. It's the NFL. 3 or 4 plays are going to matter. And a game like that to where clearly the Rams were the better team on the field that night, and the Seahawks needed to make those plays to hang around to see if maybe they could make something happen to actually win the game. But then they fell too far behind to where it didn't matter at all.
And Russell Wilson's been playing against an offensive line that hasn't really protected him that well the past couple of years.
Nope.
He's the second most blitzed quarterback in the NFL to Jameis Winston, so they're bringing pressure on him. It's hard for Russell Wilson. He's produced despite that.
Yes, it is hard. Well, and they blitz him because their offense is not overly complicated either. Yeah, so where teams kind of know, like, oh, they're not like going to scheme us to death. They're just going to like send people on a go route, and Russell's going to have to throw a money ball, and he does a lot of the time. But I did think, though, just to end it up, Russell played, I thought, one of his more poorer games the whole year.
You do think?
I do. Okay. Despite those drops that weren't his fault, there was a number of other plays where I went, oh, this guy's open, and I don't know what Russell's looking at, or he kind of panicked in the pocket a few times for no reason, and little things like that. Where, listen, you don't see him do that a whole lot, but I did think this was one of those nights.
And we've done this 10 times.
Rashad
this game
Penny
now.
hurts them too.
What do you mean?
It really hurts that he's out for the year. Like, it really hurts them because Chris Carson's a pounder.
I love Chris Carson.
He's great. but like he's not going to make that extra guy miss to get a 40-yard run.
He'll break a tackle.
He'll break a tackle and make a 1-yard run, 6 yards.
Yeah.
That's where he's great. But he doesn't have the speed to like, oh, the hole was big. Now there's a safety in the hole. Can he make that guy miss? No, he's going to run him over and maybe get 3 extra yards. And it'd become a 12-yard game. Rashad Penny was that type of guy. This was a great complement to each other, where he could go in there and make that guy miss, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, that was a 40-yard run. And not having him will hurt them in the screen game and the run game.
Wouldn't that be funny if Seahawks fans are like, oh man, this guy's a bust, and then they lose and they're like, oh man, this guy's out.
They're going to realize that it's going to hurt them.
Okay.
All right.
Are we really done?
Yeah, we're done. I'm sorry. Okay. I can't help it. I just I don't watch all this film for like.
You did the work.
I know. I got to get it out there.
I 100% agree.
And then I also don't want people to like watch it and go, wait, you never said anything about this, and I'm going to go, well, damn, I watched it, but I didn't get a chance to say it.
I wrote it down. I was going to say it, but Ahmed wanted to do something else.
Yes. Right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.